Digital Assessment 2. Implement, document, and critique a digital and collaborative learning innovation applied to a specific area of your practice. The problem. I have a fixed mindset when using digital technology in a Year 1 classroom. How can I fix this? How can I push this fixed mindset aside to benefit the learners in my classroom? What is a fixed mindset? People with a fixed mindset believe that abilities and capabilities to do certain things are fixed. They believe that whether or not someone is talented at something will compare whether or not they're successful at it. Dweck states that we all have our own fixed mindset triggers. These could be things such as being faced with a challenge or receiving criticism, and it's how we overcome these to have a growth mindset. So what was my strategy? My strategy was to change my mindset. What's a growth mindset? People with a growth mindset believe that people's abilities develop and grow. They grow through hard work, time, and encourage learning and positive relationships. So I introduced Chromebooks into my Year 1 classroom. What I had to do, I had to change my mindset, work collaboratively, pros and cons, buddy class system, and change others' mindsets also. So the first thing I had to do was change my mindset. People who have a growth mindset tend to see difficult tasks as a way to increase their abilities and seek out challenging learning experiences that enable them to do so. When I first started my journey on introducing Chromebooks into the Year 1 classroom, I had quite a fixed mindset about it until I spoke to Kerry East. Kerry East has a very growth mindset and is the ICT leader in our school. She was positive and encouraging when undergoing this change, which made me want to seek out the challenging learning experience. What I had to do, I had to work collaboratively and change others' mindsets. In the workplace, managers who with a growth mindset were more likely to coach and help employees than were managers who believed that traits and abilities were fixed. Kerry helped me by her having a growth mindset. She helped me to have a growth mindset and coached me when developing skills to implement Chromebooks into my Year 1 classroom. What I had to do, pros and cons. I had to come up with a pros and cons list of using Chromebooks within a junior classroom. We also had a buddy class system. My buddy class is Kerry's classroom also, and their older students helped the younger students to develop skills needed to use Chromebooks effectively. Lots of people asked me why Chromebooks and not iPads. Our school has a very fixed mindset in the junior school that apps help to reinforce learning, in which they do, but however, the fixed mindset comes from that's all that a junior can do using technology. We were introducing the same model into our team meetings and suggested that we can't just substitute using these technologies. We have all this technology in our school, but it's not being used very effectively. So how can we use it effectively in the junior school? Successes. We had quite a few successes. The first one is I managed to gain 10 brand new Chromebooks for my classroom to trial this year from end of term 3. If this works, then it will be rolled out across the junior school in years to come. And we also managed to work collaboratively, not only across teachers and senior management, but also across student levels. For example, the seniors helped the juniors to learn those skills needed to use the Chromebook. Here is an example of the pros and cons list that I had to do. This is actually the Chromebook that we chose. So you can see that there's the cost, the specifications, the pros, and the cons for a junior classroom. We chose this one. One reason was because of the 180 view camera. It meant that we were able to take pictures of our learning a lot easier than a Chromebook with a fixed camera. For example, in mathematics in my junior classroom, it's quite hands-on, and we were finding that we had to use worksheets to show evidence of the students' learning, whereas now we just take a picture of it, insert it into a Google slide, write a little reflection, and then we have the evidence there if we need to, and it's not going anywhere. Here is an example of my students using the Chromebooks for a reading activity. They had to search their books to find long vowel sounds, so 2 vowels walking and a magic E, and they had to put them into a table. Doctman and Blackwell state that how teachers and peers react to mistakes also influences how well a growth mindset can be sustained in the classroom. This has been a challenge for my juniors, and a challenge that we're still facing. A lot of the students, they find if they make a mistake or they can't quite find the letter on the keyboard, that they get very frustrated and they want to give up and go back to just writing it down. We're still facing this challenge. This is an example of a collaborative task that our buddy class did with the juniors. So it was 2 senior students and 1 little student. We read the book Bear Hunt, and they had to create a map using materials from the classroom. So here's an example of their map. They then had to take a picture and insert it into a Google slide while teaching the juniors how to take a picture and how to insert it. You can see that this group got quite creative and actually made 3 slides. Duick states that within a classroom culture that supports a growth mindset, teachers can design meaningful learning tasks and present them in a way that fosters students' resilience and long-term achievement. The task that me and Kerry created for the buddy class allowed students to engage, and it was meaningful for them. The second task that they actually had to do was then take their bear hunt map outside, and they had to create a video of them going through a bear hunt through their school. So it made the task real life and meaningful to them, and they were engaged in wanting to do the task. The next task was actually to use Google Maps and New Zealand land icons and create a map going through New Zealand icons. Be doing it next term with the buddy class. Failures and struggles. We had a lot of struggles, not so much failures. Time was a big one. I mean, we've only had the Chromebooks for 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of the term, and so even getting a kid just to log in was a struggle. That took about a week, but we are getting there, and I think that we can still keep progressing with this. How might I do things differently? I don't think I'd do things differently, but I'm definitely thinking about the way that I design my learning tasks for the needs of my students, and how I can incorporate using these Chromebooks into our program that we were doing, because juniors need structure, and while scaffolding the skills needed to learn also. Reference list. Bye!